What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ink, Drink, Think, Episode 3. Today, me and the boys are getting animated with some classic cartoon characters. I'm your host, Michael Pickard. Today, I am joined by my wonderfully talented creator, co-host friends, Johnny Wise. Johnny, you're on the screen.
Hey, I'm Johnny. So yeah, we're doing cartoons today. So I tried to think of the most memorable cartoon for me as a kid, and it is hands down Courage the Cowardly Dog. So I am doing a Courage piece today, getting real creepy with it. It was my first entry into the horror genre as a small boy, realizing that I liked stories best when they were creepy. So that's what I'm doing for you today. Bring it up. Really, you can see, you can at least see the moon guy. I've already inked him, so he's in there.
Beautiful.
And jumping in on that. And today I am drinking a San Miguel because, as I've already said, it is cheap, and that's what I go for.
Awesome.
I like a man who's cheap. I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm. Unashamedly cheap.
Joining us also, our fellow co-host, Nate Wells. Nate, you're on the screen.
Hey guys, Nate Wells. Today I'm going to be drawing some Looney Tunes stuff. I've got a Marvin the Martian versus Duck Dodgers that I'm pretty excited about. We'll flip the camera and hopefully it is in focus this time. We will see. How's that looking for you guys?
It's a little blurry, but it might just have to take some time to calibrate.
Anyway, I'm going to be doing some of the design elements, sort of like on the spot. I wanted to draw them as they appear in the classic Looney Tunes show. So I'm pretty excited to kind of get in here and do a little designing. Going back to a little bit of my cartooning background, I started my career as a political cartoonist. This is a little bit different, but I'm excited. I'm excited. Tonight I'm drinking a little cheap beer. Got a Miller Lite here. Good football beer.
We love
probably
cheap
having
beer.
some Miller's Light. I don't know if that's the proper plural form of Miller Lite, but gonna be drinking some Miller's Light. All right.
Awesome. And then just to cut back real quick before we get into the conversation, like I said, I'm your host, Michael Pickard. I'm going to be drawing Popeye. And before I introduce our last co-host, who is going to break into the conversation, I'm doing a Popeye piece tonight. I'm drinking a year-old Yingling, so we'll see how that goes. And to start off the episode, we're going to be talking about some of the greatest cartoon theme songs and intros. And to kick us off with that is our final co-host, Todd Blackwood. Todd, you're on the screen.
Hi, guys. How's it going? I am working on Space Ghost today. I don't know how well you can see what I'm doing, but I'm here to. I'm a little older than the rest of these guys, so for me, I grew up in. I'm a firm believer that the '70s were the best era for cartoon theme songs. Scooby-Doo needs a mention there as well.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
my favorite still is it's really like it had good rock music. It was Reagan changed Saturday morning cartoons and stuff. They basically became commercials for toys in the 80s. And you couldn't do that before. So I do feel like there was some sort of like chaotic goodness to cartoons in the 70s that was lost in the 80s. And as nostalgic as folks are for, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on or whatever. But anyways, we're talking about theme songs. And still my favorite hands down is Super Friends. So.
Can you give us a riff of it for us? Can you sing it for us, or?
Oh, I brought it up on YouTube if you'd like to hear it.
We might not actually. We probably shouldn't, just in case anybody sees it and is like,
will we get in trouble?
I have no idea, but just out of concern, we'll leave that out.
Yeah, it's got a very marching theme. I mean, if you look it up, it's very. It starts off. It's got a great. I don't even know what it is. A bass line. It's like, and then it's got Ted Knight. I want to say Ted Knight. I think did the intro for a bunch of Hanna-Barbera, including Super Friends, and I think Space Ghost as well. And he's so over the top serious that it's like both funny and awesome at the same time. Like every time they cut a scene in Super Friends, they'd be like, "Meanwhile, down at the Hall of Justice," and like as a little kid, you were like, "Oh my god, this is the most serious show I've ever watched." Like it made you feel like you were really, watching something really important. And Ted Knight was also the uptight guy in Caddyshack. He played Judge
really?
Nails. Yeah. He's the guy that Rodney Dangerfield goes, "Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?" "Oh, wait, it looks good on you. Does it come with a bowl of soup?" Yeah, I love Ted Knight. He's great.
Super Friends is a good choice for intro theme. One of the ones that I'm always drawn to is Thundercats, which I was very tempted to do for this episode.
Oh yeah,
but that theme song, it's kind of like the same note of how it's really ridiculous. It's just like a choir of women saying Thundercats pretty much over and over again. But with like that 80s synth metal, it's such a great opener. And with the animation that's involved in it, like watching that as a kid, that was one of those themes that like watching it was like, oh, I'm excited now.
Well,
yeah,
I have to
actually.
I have to disagree with you, Todd. Unfortunately, this was Nate's suggestion, so it is definitely not my own thinking. But as soon as it was brought up, I couldn't think of anything else. The 90s X-Men theme tune is firmly the best theme tune of any kid's cartoon.
Yes, sir.
It's good.
I think of all time.
Yeah, I don't have nostalgia. I wasn't watching cartoons at that point, so I don't have nostalgia for it. So yeah, maybe it is. Is that the one that's like?
Yep.
That's it. Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's,
yes, that is
it. It's pretty. Yeah. That is phenomenal. I can't. Oh my god! You're just hearing it voiced by people is getting me pumped. I'm so good.
That's good. That's awesome.
But maybe I need to hear the Super Friends theme tune.
Yeah,
because I haven't yet. To be fair.
Oh well, I will be curious what your reaction is for sure.
Yeah. I'm keen to.
Maybe we should we should post a reaction video at the end.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Really fun.
It's kind of funny, like when you think about like a theme song is almost in a lot of ways like the book cover to a cartoon. Like in a comic book sense, because this is a comic book art show.
Yeah.
Whatever music you're playing in your head is very individualistic. What Todd is hearing in his head when he's reading Batman is different than me. But if you're watching, I know Nate had brought it up before we started recording, the 90s Batman show, and you're hearing I think it's Danny Elfman's score. Like that is Batman. And for everybody watching that show, like you're collectively hearing that sound as the intro to an episode. And so it's pretty cool to think about how like the opening song is like the thematic tone setter for what you're about to enjoy. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, I genuinely think of that Batman animated score sometimes when I like read the comics.
Yeah. Although I think the Batman animated show would have been better with the old Adam West themes. That to me is the original rock and roll superhero song. That, to be fair, that's not a cartoon. So, but just the way that they would introduce
that's a cartoon.
It's like, wow. Well, I mean,
it's my text tone for a long time. Is that?
Yeah. It's so cool. Like, you show it to a little kid, and they're really into it. They're like, "Oh my god, what's that?" It really grabs your attention.
Yeah, I loved
Like
it as a
something
kid.
exciting is happening, right? Yeah, yeah. I took it really seriously.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Another great lost is the Linda Carter Wonder Woman theme song. A lot of people aren't familiar with it, but it's fantastic. Like, I think a lot of people don't even know that show had a theme song. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that kind
The
of
frustrating thing about all those back was they had no villains. They had it was like a bank robber at most, and that drove me crazy.
Well, that interestingly brings me on to a bit of a point. Who can remember the theme song to the character you're drawing?
Oh, I have no idea. I can't tell you Popeyes. Other than the last note that's like Popeye the Sailor Man.
Yeah, Popeye the Sailor Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have no idea.
Play when he ate his spinach too.
I can't remember Courage.
I actually should know Space Ghost, and I don't know Courage at all.
I remember there's it starts with a TV guy on their old TV, and he's like something starring Courage, the Cowardly Dog, but I can't remember whether there was even a theme tune.
Actually, I remember the theme song for the newer Dodgers cartoon, but I don't know about the classic 50s cartoons. I really couldn't tell you.
Johnny, I know for Courage, because I literally just listened to it before we started recording. It was like a rockabilly banjo kind of music, while they were introducing the characters. They're like Eustace and Muriel, and then they introduced kind of the crazy antics of the show as opposed to a musical number.
That rings a bell a little bit, actually, now that you say it. As soon as you said rockabilly, I was like, I kind of, like a strummy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember that a little bit now.
Huh. For Courage? Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that song at all.
You didn't watch it, did you?
No.
Oh, it was
It sounds a lot like Scooby-Doo.
Oh no!
John, you're mistaken if you go into it thinking, "Oh, it's gonna be like Scooby-Doo."
No, not at all.
Oh, is it? I have to familiarize myself.
It's like Scooby-Doo on acid.
Yeah, it has some real weird horror elements. Yeah, it's very Lynchian.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird to say.
It's horrifying for a kids show, but it's also entertaining for a kids show. It's a nice blend.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it was my big thing.
How did I miss that? Fantastic.
And Courage, I've been saying
What
before
channel
because
is it on?
It was Cartoon Network.
It was a Cartoon Network show.
Cartoon
Network? Wow, sounds great.
I was saying to the guys before that what was I saying? So Courage, because I had an issue drawing Courage. I don't know. I'm drawing him now, and I feel like it's going okay, but it's that weird thing of on the show he's a weird mix of cute and also kind of eerie looking. He looks weird.
An ugly dog.
When I first, he's an ugly dog for sure. And I took a first pass at it, and it just I Googled it, and Google said that Courage was a beagle, so I used some references of beagles, and it just looked like a dog, and it didn't look anything like Courage, and I had to take another pass at it, and really exaggerate a lot of the proportions, and it finally started to work. Slowly but surely, I started to make the legs skinnier, and the head bigger. The head is so big on this now, but it worked. It started to get there, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Johnny, we were talking about that outside of the recording, about how with cartoon characters and adapting them to a realistic or like comic book art is almost considered realistic to some extent. Like people embrace it in that same way. To adapt it from cartooning, which is extremely abstracted to the most base forms and very simple shapes, when you bring it back to that realism, it can become either creepy or you can really jump headfirst into the uncanny valley. But with your piece, I think you really took a detour.
Yeah.
Like you were driving and you took a left and you just avoided that valley entirely. Like it looks really crisp.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the hope. Yeah. The tough thing is that you actually do have to have an element of creepy for Courage. He does look a little bit creepy and a bit weird, especially like Nate said when he like Nate said before we were recording, when he does that scream, he looks fucking scary.
Yeah. Oh man.
So you do have to include that element of creepy. So like he looks mangy and a little bit gross, and his spots I think are a little bit weird. Like the fact that it has like a little gap in it, they just look strange. You got to get that perfect mix of cute and eerie, I think.
Well, if he's Lynchian at all, yeah.
Yeah. I think the whole show is. Am I right in saying that? Do you think, guys? It's very Lynchian, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Serious. Wow.
It's very unnerving. It's not like
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like it's not horror in a gory or anxiety-inducing way that you would traditionally. It definitely is anxiety-inducing because it's so weird, but it's more unnerving than it is like terrifying. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very weird that a kids show was greenlit with that theme and that atmosphere.
Yeah, but I find it weird because
right?
I remember as a kid, I didn't find it like, I found it creepy, but that was what I liked about it. But I definitely didn't find it like, I don't know, it didn't feel inappropriate to me, and it didn't feel like way too adult or anything. It felt like very kid-like, but just really, really creepy in a way that I really liked.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, Todd, it's very much up your alley. Knowing you with your heavy influence of like ghost stories and spooky things, it's so up your alley.
Yeah. I've been looking up a lot of old Halloween records on YouTube of like ghost stories and just like sounds. So some of that stuff I can't listen to for too long because it's just kind of stupid and boring. But I found one last night that was like a bunch of Boris Karloff stories. Some record of like Boris Karloff reads creepy stories.
That sounds
I
good.
love that.
Vincent Price. Yeah, those old ones, they're weird, man. It seems to me there was a point in the 60s and 70s where children's entertainment, like the people were out to lunch. And, like there was a lot of standards that like they're now that they didn't have back then. So it was like nobody was paying attention. It seemed like they put some fucked up shit in there. But they're great. Yeah. Been listening to some old time radio shows too. Those are fun. I love that kind of stuff. It's so atmospheric.
Todd, I was just thinking about how, kind of like to your point, I feel like there are a lot of artists of your generation who, similarly, who would have grown up with the same cultural touchstones, who have that same kind of influence in their work, if that makes sense. Like people who grew up in the mid-'70s, early '80s, during that Hanna-Barbera, Space Ghost, Scooby-Doo era.
Yeah, it would seem to me. There was definitely I mean, it depends on what you're talking about for sure, but there was definitely a real like kids entertainment was really screwy And there was stuff like Planet of the Apes coming out, which was awesome, but also really mind-bending and asking questions that were like you'd watch Planet of the Apes and then on TV, and then you'd like go to bed at night and just sit there thinking about it, be like, oh my god, what did I just watch? It wasn't very reassuring, in other words, which is but can be both fun and terrifying at the same time. Of course, rock and roll was super different too. Like now you know everything about everybody, but back then guys like Ozzy Osbourne and Kiss were genuinely scary. Like there was something you didn't know much about him. You heard all the rumors. Like Kiss, nobody knew what they looked like underneath their makeup. I kid you not. There's no way they'd be able to do that now. But back then, you'd hear rumors. It was like, are they even people? Are they magic? Like it was really. And of course,
well, you had the same thing with Slipknot in the 90s.
That stuff. Probably.
That was Slipknot in the 90s.
I don't know much about those guys, but yeah.
I definitely remember a big thing of like, what are they under the masks? Like, and I thought it was, I was a proper 90s kid. I thought it was so cool. Did that ever come to light? I don't know much about Slipknot. It's not my I don't know loads about them either, but everyone knows how they look now. The magic is
I think Corey Taylor like fronted a couple other bands, so like everyone knows what he looks like now.
Yeah.
I know that name. For me, it depends on the music. You know, I think are you guys into? I'm gonna diverge here for a second, but are you guys into King Diamond at all?
No, I never heard of him.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I can't say that I am.
He did. To me, King Diamond did the best like horror metal albums I've ever heard, and they usually have a theme to them. He's telling some kind of a story, and they're so crazy, but they're also really melodic. People either don't know who he is, or they love him, or they can't stand him. But I'm a huge King Diamond fan these days. I recommend it. But anyways, back to cartoon theme songs.
Yeah, I took us on a bit of a tangent there with Courage, I think.
No, that's the way it should be, though. I mean, like it should.
Never known. I really checked that out.
Yeah, I think Todd, you'd really like it. It was definitely my big. As a kid, it was like
I can't wrap my brain.
My startup for horror.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
So that's a good one because
on that you guys watch now.
Not mainstream. I wouldn't say like there's anything on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon for that matter that I'm following.
Yeah,
I love Steven Universe a lot. Steven Universe is the shit.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah,
I love me some Steven. Actually, in the realm of theme songs, they have a great theme song on that show. Just a really fun show, but it also is not afraid to get emotional, and that's what I really like about that show. It does delve into like some deeper ideas about people and community, everything like that. Also, like each episode, like the segments, the episodes, I guess, are like 10 minutes long, like a normal cartoon. But they do, there is a continuous story even throughout the more standalone episodes, and I really enjoy that. A lot of good world building in that show too.
Yeah, everybody I know who has watched the show like from end to end really loves it.
Yeah,
I just never, not that I out of any like indifference to the show, I just haven't checked it out yet. But I've only ever heard good things.
Yeah,
I would recommend it. Really enjoy it.
Have you guys seen BoJack Horseman?
No, I still haven't.
I've seen like the first 3 seasons.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's a show that it's funny how with a lot of modern cartoons, like if you think about like Family Guy as a prime example, it's a very simple animation style. Like it doesn't really try to like push any boundaries. It has a style and it adheres to it. BoJack Horseman is the same way. It has one art style. It follows it continuously, but that show does things that I don't think were ever considered before in animation. Like there's a later episode, way later in the show, where BoJack gives a eulogy at a funeral, and
wow,
it's an entire episode filmed of just like a character's face in a cartoon.
Wow.
Like there are some there are some shot changes where like it might pan out and then like show him like walking around the casket, but it's almost entirely a one-man like Broadway stage performance, but it just happens to be a cartoon.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a show that if anybody hasn't checked it out yet, definitely for mature audiences. But if you haven't checked it out yet, it has some very heavy themes and commentary that I think are very worth watching. It's a crazy show.
Interesting.
That sounds good. I've always kind of avoided it
really
because
good.
I've been told by everyone that it's a cartoon that is really depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing.
It's a little depressing.
And I'm kind of like, you never want, if you've been told
right?
that, that's like the kiss of death for a recommendation. Because you're like, okay, well, it sounds good, but you're never in the mood to watch something depressing, you know? Oh, I'm not anyway.
Depends on your definition of depressing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I'm always in the mood to watch horror, but I don't consider horror depressing.
Yeah.
Most of it, anyway.
Every once in a while, I want to watch a movie that I'm like,
Yeah.
just make me sad, dude. Just make me cry. I want it.
Yeah, I
Give
do
it to
that.
me.
I get that, but I really have to be in the right mood. Unless it's Call Me By Your Name. Have you guys seen Call Me By Your Name?
No, I haven't.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm always game to watch it, and it always makes me cry at like
Oh,
10
it's so
different bits of
good.
the film. Yeah.
You guys ready for this? Do you want to know a cartoon that makes me cry every time?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you're ever in my presence, if we're all hanging out sometime, and you're like, I'm gonna make Mike cry,
Okay.
play the song that Jessie the Cowgirl sings in Toy Story 2. Ever since I was a kid, I don't care. I might have been 5 the first time I'd seen it, or more. If you play that song in my presence, I tear up.
Oh my God, yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. That is rough, that one.
Yeah, and actually, a funny tangent. I used to work as a camp counselor, and we were showing it to the kids one year, and I was like, oh God, not this. So, like, luckily we were in a dark room, but like I felt it coming on, and I was like, you gotta fight it, man. You gotta be an adult around all of these 8-year-olds. You hold it together.
What is it again? When She Loved Me.
Don't start on me, Johnny.
I promise I won't sing it.
Do it, John.
Oh my God, yeah, that is brutal.
Yeah, oh my God, that song is devastating.
Yeah, if you want me to sob
went to
watching
see-
a cartoon, it's the Iron Giant.
Oh,
Sob every
Oh
time.
man,
I'll just-
yeah.
It ruins me.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Wow.
You stay.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
go.
Brad Bird.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, it's
I want
heartbreaking.
Brad Bird to direct a Superman
Yeah.
movie so bad.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, right?
Live action animated,
He-
I don't care. He needs to
Star
do it.
Wars. I never heard that.
Oh, Star Wars would be a
Yeah.
great fit for
As
Brad
Ethan,
Bird.
It's always great. Yeah. I thought when they were making the prequels or the sequels that they would tap in. I was kind of surprised that they didn't.
I guess that is something that cartoons have the ability to do, is introduce children to themes that, even if it's more of a subliminal message or concept that the adults viewing the movie might catch on to, or cartoon for that matter, it definitely can leave an impacting subconscious thought in a child without even having to address it directly, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they're all about, like, all of the good ones are about, like, loss or, you know, growing up and things like that. And they're all just like basically there to just teach kids like
Right.
how to deal with that. I mean, I can't think of an example in Courage
Yeah.
the Cowardly Dog. That's mostly about like what happens if a big moon turns up and wants to kill your whole family. I can't really think of any analogies in Courage the Cowardly Dog, but I love it still.
That's what I like about Looney Tunes. It's all about just like shenanigans and fuckery. You know,
Yeah.
people just like shooting each other with shotguns.
Yeah.
You know, but there are parables, you know, like the classic Tortoise and Hare cartoon with Bugs Bunny.
Mhm.
Love that. Love it so much. Couldn't be a more perfect cartoon than that.
What would you guys say are your favorite cartoons of all
Have you
time?
guys heard? Oh gosh.
Well, I'm going to discount anything Batman
That's fair.
because I think that's just
How
it's
come?
just too much in the
It's
normal realm of
too
what we
obvious.
talk about.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Favorite cartoons? That's a tough one. One. This is not really the kind of cartoons we're drawing, but that episode of Futurama where I can barely remember it, but it's something to do with his dog. And his dog is like, there's like the scene at the end where it turns out his dog has waited for him the whole time. You guys remember that?
No, that sounds heartbreaking.
Oh my god. So he's like, Fry has like gone into the future, and then he goes back and he tries to like find his dog or something, or find out what happened to his dog. And then in the end credits, there's just, I can't remember what song, but there's this heartbreaking song, and it just shows that his dog was just waiting by a lamppost for him. And it just shows like summer turning into winter, turning into summer, and he's just there the whole time waiting for Fry. It is heartbreaking to watch. Every time it came on, I couldn't look away, and I couldn't stop myself from crying every single time. And those are the ones that hit for me. The ones that I remember are the ones that made me cry usually.
Sure.
Because it's impressive for a
You
cartoon.
don't remember which one it was, though?
With a bit of Googling, I would be able to remember it. But every device I have for Googling is being used.
It wasn't Charlie Brown, was it?
No, it was Futurama.
Yeah. It wasn't.
But,
it was Futurama. Oh.
Yeah, it was Futurama. I just don't remember what the episode was called. But anyone watching will probably remember what the episode was called. It's like one of the most famous episodes. And it killed me every time.
Huh. Yeah, for me, I'm a huge Rankin Bass fan. Are you guys familiar with, like, speaking of Thundercats, you know, in a way, I would say they were the first ones to popularize an anime style, you know, in the United States. Because I think they went overseas to have their animation done, and that's why a lot of that stuff looks so great. But they also had great music. So they had like great Japanese animation and great American music, and the two together, I think, is what made a lot of their cartoons so popular. And that's stop action as well. But for me, my favorite Rankin Bass cartoon, hands down, is The Hobbit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
That was. It's funny, people blow that off, but that was a big deal when it came out. Like that was a real event, you know. Like people led up to that as if a movie was coming out on TV. And I people think it's hokey, and I understand that. I think it's pretty great considering they packed all that information into a hour-long episode. And to me, the Gollum character is way scarier than the Peter Jackson version.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's like
he's
hideous.
Definitive, like.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, what is that guy? He seems like he's an amphibian, or but he's an old lady. Apparently, that was some old poet from the 60s named Theodore. Just went by Theodore. And that was how he hear him read poetry. He did other stuff in animation, but that was his really famous one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
like the
think
music from all that stuff. What's that?
I was just gonna say, I think you're right. It's the not really knowing what he's about. Like Gollum in the movies was obviously incredibly well done, but it was just like
Yeah.
you see immediately, you're like, okay, he looks like a guy, like a weird looking guy. Whereas in that, it's like, what? I don't even know what he is, what he used to be. I have no idea what this guy is.
Yeah. Yeah.
He used to terrify me. I used to have
And
the art
they
book
did a
as a
sequel.
kid.
Oh, that art book's great.
Yeah, I used to have it, and I used to just flick to the page where Gollum was and just like look at it for ages and be like, I'd freak myself out.
Yeah, totally. Did you see the sequel, The Return of the King, that they did?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there's a Return of the... So they planned on doing Lord of the Rings, and then shoot, I'm blanking on the name, but the guy that did the theatrical release that was kind of terrible ended up doing it. So they ended up doing an hour-long, like Two Towers and Return of the King basically shoved into an hour.
Really?
Yeah,
Did they just
all
skip
things
Fellowship
considered, I
or
think
what?
it's really good. Yeah. Well, they had to because the movie had just come out, so there was, I think, no point. It
Right.
was a really odd situation. Then to
Yeah,
skip
that's
all the way,
weird.
skip right to the ending, basically. It's really unfortunate because, man, I would kill to have seen, each book done as an hour-long special. That would have been so cool. That's kind of a crime, I think, that they didn't have that done. It does the best it can with what goes on. And man, that Gollum getting thrown into the molten lava at the end at Mount Doom's, that haunted me for years. It's pretty brutal. It gets pretty brutal. The Witch King in that cartoon is pretty crazy sounding. You'll hear a lot of voices too that you'd probably be like, "Oh, I know that voice from Transformers."
There's a lot of like Peter Welkers and those guys.
Yeah. Paul Frees. Roddy McDowell is Samwise, I think. There's some great songs, including one called "Where There's a Whip, There's a Way." It's maybe the catchiest song ever written, and if you hear it, you'll never forget it. Yeah, Rankin Bass was a huge influence on me. They did a movie called The Daydreamer it's, speaking of scary, that's the one that really scared me, and it came out at the same time as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which they also did. But it's all Hans Christian Andersen stories, and it's got most of the cast from Wizard of Oz in it, of all things. It's a really lost gem.
Oh, weird! I've never heard of that.
Really terrible. Yeah, you should check it out. It's on YouTube for free. But it's half live action and half animated, stop action. And basically it's got the story of the Little Mermaid, the Emperor's New Clothes, and Jesus, I'm blanking on a couple of them. Others but the ending, he keeps getting warned not to go to the Garden of Knowledge, which basically at the end he shows up and it's like the Garden of Eden, and there's a tree with these big flowers, and this ominous voice is like, "Don't eat the flowers of knowledge." And then this little boy who looks just like him, except he has like devil horns and hooves, is like, "Hey, it'll be fine. Let's eat the tree of knowledge."
Whoa!
Let's see where we're going here.
That's heavy.
Yeah,
that's heavy for a kid's thing.
I had to. Oh yeah, well of course he eats it, and then like the whole everything starts melting, and the little devil boy is like, "Mah, mah, you did it, I mean, like as a kid, I was like, "Oh my god, what am I watching?" Like my
Wow.
parents had to turn the TV off, so I didn't make it all the way through the movie for like a couple years. Each time it was on, each year it would be on. My parents were like, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" And I was like, I got to see how this ends. But it was, yeah, it's still one of my favorites. Great animation, really charming and spooky, but fun spooky. I think it's probably where I got my love of fun spooky from. There's a story in it with, I want to say, Vincent Price and Boris Karloff play like a mole and a rat. And there's a dance routine with a bunch of dancing bats. It's pretty neat, and that's in the movie as well.
What's it called again? I've never heard of it.
Not a lot of people have. I don't know how it got overlooked, but maybe they just weren't ready for a full-length animation, of it. How's the drawings going?
Great question. I'm going to zoom in on Nate, because Nate, I'm looking at yours right now.
Not real stoked on this one so far.
Yeah?
I'm trying to, I don't know. Mistakenly, I think I was trying to like keep the lines super clean, which is not what I do. So now I'm going to abandon that and do what I normally do, which is probably what I should have done to begin with, but it's all good. Yeah, I didn't plan on struggling this much with this one, but I'm struggling to kind of find like my visual identity in this drawing, because I did opt to draw them sort of like as they appear in Looney Tunes cartoons. But I think we'll get there, sort of like once I start doing some of the like wrinkles and the original Duck Dodgers just wears like a green t-shirt, and so I'm gonna have some fun with that. I might do some design elements in the helmet here on Marvin the Martian. We'll see how it goes. This is just an experiment. Hate that line I just drew. Speaking of things that I don't enjoy that I'm drawing. I'm going to draw now. I think I'm going to go in and do the Mars flag that he's holding. See how that goes.
Yeah, Nate, I'm with you. I'll zoom in on my screen, but I'm struggling a little bit with this piece as well. Trying to find, it is in my own artistic style, but there's something weird about it. There's something that, like, I don't know if it's because I'm trying to adhere to the proportions of the character with these weird, like, bulbous arms and whatnot, that I'm, like, struggling, like, visually. Like, I'm conceptualizing, like, how, like, this hand right here, this huge hand that I'm working on right now, like, figuring out how to black the back of the hand without, like, losing all the detail. I might end up just even covering the whole back of the hand in black and shadow, and then going in with detailing with white acrylic. But yeah, it's kind of weird doing this. It's like, especially with these characters as opposed to like Batman is a prime example, who has had multiple cartoons and so many different visual takes that like Popeye is so uniquely Popeye. That's what he looks like. That I think I'm struggling a bit to deviate from it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm overthinking this whole drawing.
Well, that was the trouble I had with Courage for a while, which I don't know whether I've already said on the episode, because I've said it to so many people now that I don't even remember. But I struggled so much with like blending. It's the same thing with Hellboy, and I think the same thing they had with when they remade The Lion King recently. Is like, it's a cartoon. So when you try and add like an element of realism to it, it doesn't look the same as the cartoon. And like, you have to really like Mike said, there's an element of like taking a cartoon and then dialing it back to realism that is really, really tough.
Yeah.
I think I've maybe got somewhere with, because I tried to make him look really mangy and weird. And I think that's working somehow.
Mhm.
Yeah, Johnny, I'm going to zoom in on yours real quick. Do you want to show everybody what you're working on right now?
Yeah, sure. Here we go. Hope you can see that all right. Hang on, let's see what just the inks look like so far. Here we go. So, can you see that all right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I got Courage, I got his couch, I got the Eustace's mask there as a little cameo. And then, I don't know if you remember, I don't remember the context of the episode, but I remember there was an episode with a big moon-looking guy who just showed up. I really can't remember why, but he just suddenly showed up, just floating in the house. And it was a really great example of what they were doing, Courage, where everything else was a cartoon, and then he was like photorealistic, like he was just video that they'd like edited to be black and white and weird, and then just pasted in. And like he looked like he was in like a silent film. He had like black lipstick on, which I've tried to like recreate there. I've done like a bit of a highlight on his lower lip there. But it was like terrifying. And I really can't remember what his motive was.
Yeah.
Which kind of in my head makes it more frightening. You know, like in The Shining, when the ghosts turn up and you don't really know what they want. It's the same kind of thing. In my head I can't remember what his whole thing was.
Yeah.
But it just makes it more frightening that he just seemed to turn up.
Scarier.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on now. And I have
it's so much scarier when you don't explain it.
Exactly. And I think in the show they probably did explain it.
Yeah.
But it's better in your memory, isn't it? When you don't even remember. But you just remember the imagery.
Like a bad dream.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
That's Courage the Cowardly Dog. Courage is a bad dream.
It's the whole thing is a bad
that
dream.
whole show is just a really weird bad dream.
Yeah.
And it's perfect and I love it, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like I was saying before about Courage, like the design of him. Like he's cute, but he's also really eerie. Like I remember as a kid, I wanted to have Courage as a pet, but also he looked so fucking weird and broken. Like he looked like an odd dog.
Yeah, like Tim Burton's Frankenweenie is way more endearing than Courage is.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know what it is about him, but there's something off about Courage himself. But I also really liked him.
And his voice is not a cutesy voice.
No, it was so it was so whiny.
It's kind of grating.
Yeah.
I'm smearing ink.
I'm gonna give you guys a quick disclaimer. I can't where my head is positioned in order to keep my camera on my screen. I can't really look at the screen to see your guys' drawings. So you'll have to assume that I will like them after I am able to get a good look at them. But now I feel kind of stuck in this position of like if I move, then I'll have to readjust everything. So
that's what me and Mike were talking about. You might not like them.
Yeah, mine's not coming out great. Not loving it.
Might not like the drawings.
This might be
better than you guys think. I totally know the feeling though. How it's
Todd, I actually have I have you up on the screen if you want to show what you're working on right now with some Space Ghost.
Yeah. Speaking of, excuse me. Can you guys see that at all?
Whoa!
Oh my god!
Oh,
it's interesting because you were mentioning trying to do that giant head had a 30s silent movie look to it with the lipstick, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do with Space Ghost. I want him to look like an inverted photograph of Batman,
right?
Combined with like that, for lack of a better way to put it, the black lipstick makeup look that people had in the silent movie era.
Yeah,
I want him to kind of look like a silent movie in space, if that makes
that's
sense.
great.
That's awesome.
It'd be interesting to try to find a silent movie. I also, I don't know if the rest of you guys are interested in this, but I have a really good website that has filters and stuff. So like that, I don't know. Can you guys see the background? There's these streaks,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. So that has a bunch of fonts and a bunch of effects, mostly for like, well, I guess it's got a bunch of stuff for Procreate, but also Illustrator, Photoshop, you name it. You don't need iPad or Procreate to do it. So anyways, got a bunch of PNGs of rain, and so basically I just inverted it, put it behind him, so it looks like he's got kind of like these spacey action lines behind him.
Yeah, it looks like he's moving at like
I'll show you
light
the brush
speed.
sometime. I got like that's something. I'm going for something like that. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of making it up as I go along, but I haven't had trouble making space before, but I tried to make space like stars, and it wasn't really working out, and I was like, so I went on and explored some things, and I really like this website. I found these filters to be pretty neat, I thought. So anyways, that's what I'm doing with that. I'm not sure. He's designed by Alex Toth, so I'm trying to get an Alex Toth feeling to his mouth. I don't know if that's working or not.
No, I see that for sure.
Toth had kind of a big teeth, big lipped, heroic ideal that I thought would be kind of fun to play with, but it's hard not to also make him look a little silly.
I think you're definitely getting that Toth element coming through, especially in the shapes that you're using with the jaw and everything. It's very blocky. Or it's very thick, I should say. It's not that it's blocky.
Yeah. Well, in a way, I think I probably picked an easier one than the rest of you guys because Batman in space is what I'm really doing. And so, like, Batman's got like a shape that we're all familiar with. That's easy, and it's easier for me to do that than it would be like a realistic Courage the Cowardly Dog or Popeye. Those I'd be a little more confused about, I think. But this, it's like, okay, draw Batman, but just do like a variation on him. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. The more I'm doing it now, I'm actually really enjoying it.
Well, at least one of us is happy.
Yeah. Everybody enjoy Todd's drawing. It's good.
I mean, I have to say, I really don't want to jump on this and shit on you guys, but I'm loving mine as well. I'm really enjoying myself.
Johnny's having a good time, as he should. That's amazing.
50% of the people hosted this episode.
Yeah.
I just love. I'm kind of cartooning
I find it really
more
hard
than
to
I
talk
would.
and draw at the same time.
Yeah, I find that tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find I'm cartooning this up more than I normally would.
That's awesome.
Like, I don't know. I got to the background and I used actual like stills from Courage the Cowardly Dog for the background, and so I'm just going really like the TV there is like so cartoony, and I'm loving it. It's really fun. Just going really absurd with everything.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you, John.
Sorry.
I'm actually.
That's awesome, man.
I'm enjoying this one more. As I get into the background, I'm enjoying this one a lot more. I decided to just like add space to the background. I took the background from one of the episodes that these two, I think, first meet or first sort of fight each other with their disintegrating pistols. And it's not in space, it's like on a planet, but I decided like a black background would be a cool graphic element to employ here. And I'm actually enjoying. It's negated a lot of the really chunky, kind of crappy outlines that I did. And so I'm a lot more happy with it now.
That's cool.
Not at all what I had intended for this piece, but it's coming together better than what probably was going to happen.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. Sort of like making their shapes more white shapes than like bold black outline shapes is really helping me. At least I think so.
Right.
So I'm going to try something a little bit weird. With Popeye's forearm that's right here in the foreground, I drew in the anchor, but I'm thinking about like the light source and everything and how it would be a lot heavier over that part of the arm. I might just black out the entire forearm and then reverse out the anchor.
Ooh.
I don't know how that'll look though. I'm debating it, but I might just give it a whirl because why the heck not?
It'd be good.
Yeah, we're just playing around. So why not? I'm gonna go for it.
It'd be terrible.
So let me in on this. I missed it. I was concentrating too much on my drawing. What are we doing?
I'm gonna black out this entire forearm where the light would be negated, and then I'm gonna white out in reverse the anchor tattoo.
Oh yeah. I'm fully game for that. That sounds great. That's the kind of.
All right, that's the motivation I needed, Johnny.
I like. That's the kind of playing around that I like. That sounds fun.
From now on, if I ever need like an opinion on something, I'm going to Johnny because Johnny's just like, do it, man. Let's go for it. I'm all for it. It's not my drawing.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fun.
There was some super experimental animation going on. There was a studio called UPA in the 50s, I want to say, that was doing really abstract stuff. Even Bugs Bunny and Warner Brothers got kind of abstract. There's, I don't know who did it, but there's a great The Telltale Heart, I want to say, by Edgar Allan Poe, is crazy looking. Yeah, but it's got that deco modern look to it. But like 101 Dalmatians, they had, I think because of the failure of Sleeping Beauty, they suddenly realized they'd overspent money and had to cost cut, and that's one of the reasons why 101 Dalmatians is probably my favorite Disney film. But at the time, a lot of people thought the animation looked cheap because they, instead of inking the cells, they decided to cut costs and photocopy and darken the pencils by the animator, so it's got a very hand-drawn look, which I think is absolutely amazing. But compared to, say, Sleeping Beauty, which is really, really focused and tight, 101 Dalmatians is very, in its own way, abstract looking. I just love it to pieces. Love it. But it was, a lot of people thought it was jarring for Disney at the time. You know what I'm talking about? That style?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I've never even considered that because I've only ever seen everything in relation to, it existed before. You know? Like everything already existed and, like, was there for my entertainment as a kid. But you're right, like, 101 Dalmatians has such a jazzy... Yeah, like 101 Dalmatians has, like, a jazzy, like, sketch kind of art style to it. It looks very European.
Yeah.
And it's definitely very different than the
Jungle
norm.
Book. Yeah. Yeah, it was, well, also the car that Cruella de Vil, the villain, drives, that was actually, you should Google it on YouTube because it's really interesting. They rotoscoped that, meaning they actually made a model of a car and they filmed it and then they drew over it, which to me, in a way, is like the very first attempts at like CGI, where you could kind of start to tell in animation when they started using CGI models as opposed to drawing things.
Yeah.
Like I think Beauty and the Beast I was like, hey, that background looks CGI. Some of it was terrible, but some of it was great. Even on Batman Animated, they started making the Batmobile.
I remember that.
CGI.
Yeah.
And but there's some really unique looking animation in 101 Dalmatians. Same with Aristocats, Jungle Book, Lady and the Tramp to an extent. Lady and the Tramp might have been the like really traditionally done one. But it's got an era. You know, people look back on at the time. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Disney's being cheap and stuff." But that's the stuff a lot of people love. But yeah, you're right. There was a big European feel to that stuff, influence.
All right, I think we're getting somewhere on this drawing.
Here, I'll zoom in.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks great.
Just doing the blacks now.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much of this flag back here I want to draw, since it is. I do want to kind of just use it as like a background shape. But I'm a lot happier with it now than I was half an hour ago or whatever.
That's good.
Just by adding that black background. It's weird how sometimes you just need that one thing that's not clicking to kind of make the whole thing click. Yeah, this is. I'm actually pretty happy with this now. Not what I would usually do, but I'm not upset about it. I'm upset about the things sliding off my table, but I'm not upset about the drawing. Now I kind of just want to go into the figures and have some fun doing some rendering and brushwork and try and make it a little bit more me than it looks right now. But I'm also having fun like playing around in this like Looney Tunes look. It's kind of a cool departure.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, when we decided on the subject matter, I was expecting everybody to kind of have, in the same way that Jason Latour will sometimes draw Looney Tunes characters. Like, it's funny how you recognize it instantly. You're like, and I'm getting that from Nate's piece right now, where it's like, oh, it's very clearly that same character with the same base model, but the inking is different. Like there's a uniqueness in how it's being represented in the line work, if that makes sense.
There's something about, and I like I said before, I almost did Johnny Quest, which I probably would have done Johnny Quest, just sort of like the character design completely in the style I usually draw. But there is something kind of fun in playing around in a completely different style and just having sort of the surface stuff be uniquely mine. Because yeah, I think Jason Latour is a good example, and a lot of that like DC Looney Tunes crossover stuff that they did a couple of years ago, where you had like covers of DC characters drawn as DC characters, and then like Bugs Bunny would be on it, drawn just completely looking like Bugs Bunny. That's sort of fun to kind of watch.
Yeah. Was any of that stuff any good? I didn't really read it, but I was.
Elmer Fudd Batman is
Elmer
good.
Fudd. Oh my god!
Yeah,
so good.
I love it so much. And there's no like Looney
Fudd.
Tunes looking characters in that, but it's like a noir thriller with Elmer Fudd and Batman, and it is wonderful.
Loads better than it ever deserved to be. But
It's the best Tom King Batman story that there is.
yes.
Really? That's hysterical. Oh my god.
It's drawn by Lee Weeks, and I love everything that he does, so I was gonna love it anyway. But yeah, it is just a lot of fun. I think who is it? Is it Silver St. Cloud? That's the like the femme fatale character in it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so good, so good.
That's funny. Wow.
But it's fun because they're all the main cast. They're all in the book. Bugs Bunny plays kind of like a shifty lowlife at this bar. I think Porky Pig is the bartender. And it's wonderful.
Wow.
It is wonderful. And they're all drawn like they were Batman villains would like their villain name would be like Porky Pig, because he kind of has like a weird pig-like nose, but he's just kind of like a chubby dude with a weird nose.
Yeah. That's hysterical.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's something that I definitely went to my local shop and I was like, hey, where is this? I know it came out. And they were like, really, you want that? And I was like, I want whatever version of it you have. And I got some weird, I don't know the artist that did the variant cover that I have. But it's like a really cartoony variant cover where Batman is sort of drawn like a Looney Tunes character and Elmer Fudd's just drawn like Elmer Fudd. And I think it was like a traditionally painted cover, and it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. If I had it somewhere handy, I'd show you guys, but I have no idea where that book is.
Wow. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'll try and find it and send it in the group chat later, or at least Google the cover I have or some panels or whatever. I told you guys my one of my old roommates from college commented on my Instagram post from the last episode and was like, angry or bad opinions about Spider-Man ? Angry face. And I was like, oh, we found him. And I know him and I love him. Shout out to Steve. Ever watch this? I love you. Hope we didn't make you too angry.
I'm trying to figure out.
Dude, that's awesome.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of making it up as I go along. Trying to put some sparkles on him so that he's got that translucent thing going on. Which is always interesting. So definitely kind of a Kevin Nolan rendering that I'm walking into that I hadn't planned on, for lack of a better way to put it.
Love me some Kevin Nolan.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the sci-fi. I love the sci-fi elements you're really bringing to that character. Because in truth, like we've talked about, he is kind of like a Batman visual analog with like the cowl and everything. But the way you've just interpreted it as almost like Space Knight with like that Phantom-esque pearlescent, translucent element to it. It's crazy. It's so cool.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I think we should hit up DC with Todd's piece.
I think DC sounds like they're kind of a mess right now. I don't know what they're doing.
Well, if they're watching our show, pick up Todd for a Space Ghost movie.
Be DC.
If you have any money left. I don't know, man. I don't know.
DC, you have all the money in the world. We love you.
Yeah, if you're watching the show, I don't think you're a mess.
You're so rich, DC.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yeah, edit all that out. I take it all back.
I should just put I just gotta mute this part of the whole episode and have like a voiceover that's like, wow, this is such a great piece. DC Comics, my favorite comic book company.
We love DC Comics. Yeah. What's your phone number again?
Here at Ink Drink Think are huge DC Comics fans.
That is weird though, because I mean, for as long as I've been alive, DC has been a Warner Brothers company, right? But Marvel never really had that cartoon connection until the Disney purchase. And so it's interesting that we haven't seen the same attempt be done with like a Mickey Mouse Spider-Man crossover.
That would be insane.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
You guys watched the new Spider-Man cartoon they put out?
The one with
around the
like,
time
the
I want
goggles?
to say like yeah.
I've seen an episode or two, and it wasn't for me. This wasn't it.
Yeah, I've heard that it's terrible. Switch to shitting on Marvel. Sorry, Marvel.
Marvel is our favorite comic book company.
We love Marvel so much. Yeah, I've heard it's really bad.
I wonder if it's a Sony. It's technically a Sony thing. I don't know. This is me speaking offhand.
Could be.
I don't know.
Oh, you might be right about that. Actually, I know that there is some weird rights thing there with that right now.
But that's weird because Sony was Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah.
Which fucking killed it.
Yeah.
But Sony also did Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That's true.
That's
Yeah, you got me.
Which was
You got me
amazing.
there.
which
Amazing
The first
Spider-Man
one
2
was
is my favorite Spider-Man movie.
First one was okay. The
No,
second
it's
one
okay.
was
Sony don't produce comic books. We can shit on them.
yeah.
True.
I like the first Amazing Spider-Man.
first one was good.
I like Andrew Garfield a lot, but I didn't like it. with Peter
Garfield's an
Parker.
amazing Spider-Man, and he's
I
such a
agree.
fan of that character too.
Yeah, I don't know whether I liked him. He was very cool. Probably cooler than he should have been.
He was really he like skateboarded down the
You're talking about
hallway
Andrew
and
Garfield.
everything.
Yeah, it was like that's a little too cool.
Yeah,
But,
It was pretty cool.
yeah. Spider-Man.
He like literally dunked on Flash.
yeah, it was tough to buy
Yeah.
that he was the bullied kid in school because he was like immediately very confident and
Right.
like he
exactly.
immediately stands
Yeah,
up to Flash.
Didn't
Like,
work.
yeah.
Didn't work.
It's like, why does he even need the powers? He's doing fine.
I will give Amazing Spider-Man 2
exactly.
credit for like recreating like the Gwen Stacy death really well. I thought everything
Right.
the context of it I didn't enjoy with the Dane DeHaan Green Goblin, which I talked about I think the last episode that I really like Dane DeHaan, but why was he in that movie?
Yeah.
The Gwen Stacy death I thought was good.
Yeah, it was cool to see.
She died. I like Gwen Stacy and I like Emma Stone, but it was done well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think they handled it well too in building her up in the first movie, and the whole dramatic stake of Captain Stacy being like, "Oh, leave my daughter alone," and of course he can't. He loves her, and it inevitably leads to her demise. I think that was all handled so well.
He like immediately decides he's like, nah, that dude's dead. Fuck him. I'm gonna go after this girl. Like at the end of that movie, he's like, yeah, rules are made to be broken or whatever he says. It's like it's like Man of Steel. People are mad that he like snapped Zod's neck. He's learning. And also he absolutely should have killed Zod, to go on a tangent about that movie. I could talk about it for the whole like 2 hours of the podcast. I won't. I'll spare you.
Well, yeah, I mean, not to get too into it, but Superman does kill people, right? He'll kill people on occasion.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Max Landis
Yep.
did a video called Regarding Clark after Man of Steel came out, and I've never experienced something where I'm like, oh, he gets it. He gets absolutely what I see in that character. He makes the analogy that Superman is an adult and everyone else is a child.
Follows the rules in some way.
And says, but Zod is another adult. And of course, Superman has to act against this adult in a more aggressive manner. You know, he doesn't kill people if he doesn't have to, but Zod is someone equally as powerful. And he makes the point, he's like, I can't believe that Superman wouldn't try to kill Zod almost immediately. And I love that. I'm like, yeah, he would, because you've got to get rid of that guy.
Yeah, it's the level of threat.
Right. A bank robber, obviously he's not going to kill him because he doesn't have to. He can, bend a stop sign around the guy to hold him at the street corner. But another superpowered being that's as strong as he is, yeah, he's got to do what he's got to do.
I'm back. Yeah, I went away for a little bit there. My phone died on me suddenly. But I'm back now.
I'm zoomed in on your page if you want to show everybody what you're up to.
Sure, yeah, this is a fun bit I'm doing right now. So, like, I was looking at the interiors of the actual living room in Courage the Cowardly Dog, and they have, like, paintings up, like, pictures up, and I didn't really, the pictures I had, it wasn't clear what pictures they had up, so I was like, well, what would they have in my version of Courage the Cowardly Dog? And I just went for prints of Gustave Doré pieces.
So you guys familiar with Gustave Doré?
Is that the Kronos piece? Oh no, it's a different one I'm thinking of.
I think he did the Kronos piece, yeah. Because he did like the Divine Comedy, and he did a lot of. I think this is from Greek mythology. This one, so this is that woman turning into a spider, Arachne, I think it's called. So I've just done like studies of those.
That's from Dante's
paintings.
Dante's Inferno, I think.
That's it. Yeah.
From Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, which is weird because I swear that same
was
story.
A huge influence on Bernie Wright.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's weird because I swear that shows up in Greek mythology. Arachne, right?
Could be.
Yeah, that is Greek mythology.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right though, Todd. It's Dante's Inferno. I figured that
it's terrifying though.
Yeah, I figured that's the kind of pictures they'd have up in Courage the Cowardly Dog. And Eustace would just be sort of...
Yeah, totally.
Just not really acknowledging it.
Yeah, Muriel would be like, I just think they're pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. With this whole piece, I think you really picked a subject matter that was so perfect for not only your visual style, but your interests. Like, I think you really... were able to combine a lot of your personality into this.
Yeah, I mean, I've really stayed in my comfort zone here, but I have had a lot of fun on this one. I've really enjoyed it. This has been like possibly my favorite one. I thought the Joker was going to be my one because I'm a Batman fan, and I got to make it real scary. But no, this has been my one for sure.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm not showing you anything interesting right now. I'm just zooming in on a very specific part of a picture on a wall. So, see what else we've got. How's it looking without the pencils? There we go. It's pretty close to done without all the pencils in there. It's getting there. I've got my big head.
White out everywhere now.
Johnny, I like that you're also deviating from using a lot of black. Like you do have black in there, but you're not using it as a crutch or leaning on it. I wouldn't say that's what you do. But I really like that you're leaving so much white in this particular piece.
Yeah, I definitely want to go in and color this piece because, there's a lot of white in here. That is not my norm. Like you say, I would, it's very kind of you to say that you wouldn't say that, but I would say that it's a crutch for sure. So I'm intrigued as well at the fact that there's not a lot of black there is, but for me, there's barely any black in this. And I've had a lot of fun just cartooning out a lot of elements of it, like just playing around with it. It's been very fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I've come around on my Popeye piece a bit. I think I'm a little bit happier with it. I don't love it, but I do enjoy drawing big chunky hands. Like in my comic Ultramax, I do a lot of close up on hands, and they're fun to do. But it's fine. It's not my favorite piece I've ever done, but I'm more satisfied than I was towards the beginning of the episode. So.
Yeah, that's
anything that's a benefit. Yeah, I really like doing those. Like, I like drawing big hands with like chunky knuckles on them, with a lot of like creases. Like I like the way that hands almost have like the bone structure of the hand gives like texture, like it's like a rigid texture. If you think about it, I think it's fun to play with. But
totally. Yeah, I found exaggerated hands a lot easier to draw than regular ones.
Yeah, regular hands with appropriate proportions are such a struggle.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
I was so the audience will see it, but I was drawing an Azrael Batman for the first episode of Flights, and I had to redraw the hand like 10 times. I just could not get the fingers right. I couldn't get I just couldn't get anything right about it. The hand, at least. I redrew it so many times. But.
Yeah, Oh, that's frustrating.
I'm possibly making a mistake. I'm trying to add Kirby dots.
Oof.
No, I think it's working.
Got some crackle going on, guys.
Great.
It's hard to not do it in like a space background.
For example, how Mignola's art style. Yeah, in the way that Mignola's art style was adapted for Atlantis, is there any creator, whether it's Kirby or Samney, or anybody else, I should say, that you would really want to see adapted into an animated style?
Well,
Jock for me is somebody, because Jock's art is so chunky, like his shapes are so sharp. It would be really cool to see those shapes kind of amorphously blend as they move. So it's not like the shoulder's constantly a sharp angle. It kind of goes from a sharp angle into a different angle as like the character's like moving through the scenery, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be fun.
So
it was said last time, well, I mean, he just gets brought up every episode, but Jason Latour would be incredible.
Yeah. I was about to say that.
But also, like, just generally, I mean, I don't want to bitch about the DC like animated films, but after seeing Enter the Spider-Verse, I'm just like, every time they bring out a DC animated film, like the art style they use is always the same, like just exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of like blocky, and I find it a little bit boring. So like, basically, for me, part of my answer is, I want to just see DC adapt one of their comics and actually take on the art style.
Yeah,
like,
it's so weird that they don't do that.
Yeah, like they could do
like
Gotham by
almost
Gaslight.
do it.
Yeah, they kind of play around
almost
with it a
do it.
little, but they just
what?
Yeah, like any of their direct adaptations, I think the closest they've gotten is, I don't know, maybe The New Frontier, but also Darwin Cook draws sort of similarly to Bruce Timm, so it was kind of an easy probably for them to make.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how amazing would it be to have like an All-Star Superman movie that looked exactly like Frank Quitely's art? Not that they did a bad job. I enjoy that animated movie, but if it was like, I want to say verbatim because I do want them to have creative control over it, but what if it was like even more like the Batman Year One? Like, what if it was just Mazzucchelli's art brought to life?
Yeah.
That would be.
I think that one actually was pretty close. I think Mazzucchelli's art was close in Year One, especially in the faces.
Do enjoy that movie.
Yeah. But I totally agree with you guys, especially in the vein that so many of DC's animated movies are just cookie cutter, the same style over and over again, even if it's not in continuity with one another, and it falls flat a little bit. Like when the competition is, when your competition is literally Disney, who is renowned as an animation powerhouse, and you're Warner Brothers / DC, like you gotta step up the game a little bit. Like you have to put out something to fight that.
And for
Wish
some reason
they would. Sorry, go on, Johnny.
I was just going to say, for some reason, every time they get me as well, because every time they announce like a new animated thing, like they recently, well, it was a while ago now, but when they announced like Hush, that they were doing Hush.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, I'm still like, for a second, I'm still like, hey, it'll be interesting to see them animate Jim Lee, like forgetting that they're just going to obviously do what it always does. So it just didn't look anything like it to me, anyway.
They put that one, I think, in like their animated like universe, so it didn't look any. They were like, we put him back in the regular costume. That was supposed to be good enough.
Yeah, but it's like I was really interested because, like, I mean, I'm not obsessed with Jim Lee as an artist, but I thought it would be really interesting to see them like animate like Jim Lee if they could, like in some kind of sense.
Which you can do. You can do that. It's possible.
I'm about to go on a tangent about DC. Did you guys see the recent trailer for the Choose Your Own Adventure style Death in the Family adaptation?
Yeah.
So this is So Johnny and the viewers who aren't aware, let me explain this to you. A couple of years ago, and by a couple I mean 10 years ago, DC Comics made an adaptation of Under the Red Hood.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago, just the other week, 10 years ago. DC Comics made an adaptation of Under the Red Hood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, in 2020, 10 years later, not a couple of weeks, as I mistakenly worded that as, 10 years later, a whole decade later, they're making a sequel of sorts, where you have, it's like a choose your own adventure, kind of like the Bandersnatch Black Mirror episode, where you have say in what happens in the episode. They're doing that with this animated story, but they're reusing footage from that movie that came out 10 years ago.
What?
Yeah. They didn't change. Yeah, so parts of it are new, like parts of it are adaptations of like alternate timeline elements that you as the viewer get to choose. And some of it takes place in the past, which isn't covered in depth in the movie. But the movie is using elements of a movie that came out 10 years ago, like footage. Full footage.
What's the point of that? Why?
Yeah, and I don't hate the idea of it because it does go back to like when they did kill Jason Todd, they let the readers decide if he lived or died, and so it's kind of a play on that. Yeah. I don't hate that idea. It's the same movie that they released 10 years ago.
Yeah, like I would be really game for that idea if they like. I mean, maybe they would see it as a waste of money, but if they just redid it with new animators, like made it completely different, I wouldn't feel like they'd done the same idea twice. I'd be like,
I didn't even hate that movie when it came out.
No.
But now I'm really annoyed that they're like re-releasing it with some new stuff, and they're like, "Oh, does he live or die?" I'm like, I've seen the movie.
Yeah, the movie 10 years ago or 2 weeks ago.
I've read the comics. It's like even older.
Saw it when I was 16. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was heinous. I thought that was.
Yeah, it's weird.
I thought it's just like you said. Like we've seen so many adaptations of the Death of the Waynes, for example. Like, and it's a trope nowadays of like, oh, we gotta watch Martha and Thomas die again. But it's fine. Like really, it's thematically fine because it's building up that character in that movie. Like it's establishing Bruce Wayne in that movie. But to take the same footage, like, can you imagine if for every subsequent version of Batman for the rest of time, they just cut the part from Batman Begins where the Waynes die and just put it into every movie? Same footage, same everything. Like, where's the artistic merit in that?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great scene.
I would hate it. I would hate it, but you're right. Does anyone else hear a duck?
A duck. I think it's Todd. I think he's typing.
Yeah.
Todd, if you can hear us, type in Morse code.
Sounds like Leia in Jedi when she's wearing the helmet.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are we gonna? We got to do a Star Wars episode. Actually, speaking of,
I'm not drawing Darth Vader's helmet.
Mike can draw Darth Vader.
I'll do it. I'll take a crack at Darth Vader.
Best of luck, Johnny. I'm gonna do Han Solo. I'm gonna do a cis white male. Just the easiest thing. Not gonna draw anything more complicated than that.
I've actually gone too far with the white now. There's like way more going on than I expected. there to be.
No, Nate, I think you have a good balance. I think it looks good.
Thank you. I'm gonna black out some of this at the top just because, or maybe add more. I'm gonna add more. Yeah. Ha. Another character I gotta draw in one of these. I love drawing the spirit.
I've never drawn him. I actually don't think I've ever read it, The Spirit. I don't think I've ever read any of Will Eisner's The Spirit.
Oh,
other than, excuse me, I have read. Darwin Cook did Batman Spirit crossover. I've read that. Other than that, I've never read any Spirit.
The wallpaper on my laptop is a really cool, elaborate Will Eisner Spirit drawing.
Well, the fact that he was able to incorporate all of I should call them the title pages where Spirit is part of the background or the composition of the page, like the word Spirit, it's so cool. It really speaks to his cartooning abilities.
It's like a must now. Like if you do a Spirit drawing, like you almost have to do that, and it's hard sometimes. I haven't drawn the Spirit often, but I do always try and like incorporate the title of the character creatively into the drawing, and he made it look really easy, and it is not easy.
I lost you guys for a sec.
Yeah, you're back, Todd.
Sorry. I waited so long to pee I couldn't go. It was terrible.
I've been there.
Yeah, I think I've come around on this Popeye piece. It's not my favorite I think I've ever drawn, but I'm okay with it. I would post it on the gram.
Nice.
All right, so here's another pitch question, because we were kind of just talking about the Spirit. Is there a comic book character who you think should be adapted into the animated world?
Daredevil.
Oh, yeah. How's there never been a Daredevil animated thing, other than the 90s cartoons?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know. For one, it probably gets tricky because they probably were first of all hoping for a Daredevil movie to be a big hit, kind of like Batman, you know. You have a big hit movie and then you base the cartoon on that. So for them, it was probably a question of like, what kind of Daredevil cartoon would we end up doing? And like a Daredevil cartoon for adults would be fantastic, but it'd probably be kind of hard to make a Daredevil cartoon for kids. Maybe.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Because he was a guest star on stuff. He was on Spider-Man and whatever else. But I'd love to see like an adult, you know, really. I'd love to design a Daredevil cartoon. I've actually flirted with the idea of doing some animated Daredevil designs. But then I'm like, okay, you got actual work you got to do. I mean, how you do that stuff? I love doing that stuff. I get really distracted by it, but yeah, I can see it in my head.
Do you have a pitch in mind for like a season, or is it just the visual?
Oh, not just a season. I mean, what to me, if it's not Frank Miller, it's not Daredevil. I'm just really pretty firm on that. I don't think I've ever really read a Daredevil that wasn't by Frank Miller that I was like, oh, this seems to fit into that world. Like I appreciate it, but it never really feels right to me. To me, that's really his character. And one of the things, what I think would be really cool is the complete Frank Miller Daredevil animated, because he, you know. Nobody knew it was going to happen. Nobody knew it was going to be a success when he came in as the penciler, but he slowly wrestled control of the book from the writer, took over himself, and then left for a while and came back. So in a way, you kind of have to read between the lines of a few parts. Like there's a bunch of stuff in that middle area that the graphic novel Elektra Lives Again really bridges the story. But I think you could take those stories and I'm not sure how many seasons, 5 seasons maybe.
Wow.
You know, culminating in Born Again or whatever. But and of course, starting off with The Man Without Fear. I always forget about that one, but that's awesome. But I'd love to see it. Do you guys know? Robert Valley? Is that his name?
Sounds familiar. I don't know.
He's a designer. He so like when I say I could see it in my head, what I think of is I'm a huge fan of the Tron cartoon, Tron Uprising. It's one of the good reasons. It's one of the primary reasons I think to get Disney Plus. It's like the look of it is super groundbreaking, and I love Robert Valley's designs. They're pretty unique as far as animation designers go. And like a Robert Valley designed Daredevil cartoon would be amazing looking, I think. And do it all Frank Miller. Like get all that Bendis stuff out of there. God bless you, Bendis, but I'm not into it. And I say that as somebody who the Netflix series really won me over, but there's still things that I was like, oh man, if only they'd stuck to the Frank Miller stuff. There's characters that they killed off really fast that had way more to do with the story that I was kind of surprised by.
I mean, we can probably talk spoilers for a show that might not even come back ever. But yeah. Ben Urich, right?
Uh-huh.
Like that's a super important character in that mythos who was totally thrown aside after the first season.
Right, exactly. Well, third season or first season?
First season, I think.
Season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Melvin Potter, who's the gladiator, he got killed off. I was like, oh, what? What are you doing? Like, that's another guy that I don't know if they're trying to save money or if they just didn't. Sometimes I wondered, I don't know where they were going with that series. And it was really good. But they were clear. I actually am going to contradict myself. That was probably the only I've seen something that's Daredevil that wasn't purely Frank Miller that I was like, okay, this won me over. So that won me over. I take it all back. But I think in this day and age, you could have some sort of Daredevil Netflix series, a Daredevil movie series, and you could be like, we're going to make the complete Frank Miller Daredevil as its own separate alternate universe thing. No other superheroes other than Black Widow shows up in it that I can think of. I mean, it had guest stars once in a while, but nobody that you'd miss, I think. And if anybody could design an Elektra that looks like Bill Sienkiewicz, it'd be, besides Bill Sienkiewicz, it would be Robert Valley. They're very tall and lanky characters.
Yeah, their limbs are very long and thin.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, I think I'm done.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, I think I'm almost done mine. I think I don't know if there's quite anything else I want to like push on it.
I'm definitely in a place where I can be done. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm about done too. I'm sort of just like noodling away at details now. I'm gonna add some details to Marvin's sneakers here.
Well, here, Nate, I'll zoom in on yours just to, before we head out, we can all showcase what we're working on, what we did today. So you're just brushing in some feathering?
I said I was going to design some elements of the costuming, and I really didn't do that. I sort of made some stuff up last minute. Sort of like minimal stuff, a little detail on Marvin's uniform and as well as here our hero in quotes. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with this. I did not expect to really be happy with this, but it came out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's solid, man. It's really great.
noticing a few spots where I can use some more white. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Hey, Johnny, I'll zoom in on yours next. Do you want to showcase where you got to during the episode?
Okay. Yeah. So this is where I'm at. I don't know where you can see that.
That's so crazy.
So I went really quite cartoony with it. Like I kept like the feathered look I still go with, but like that couch is like absurd. I went a bit wild with it, but I had a lot of fun with this one. I think it's got like central in it. I've got that pretty realistic, weird moon head still going on that kind of keeps everything relatively normal, and kind of shifts the style on it a little bit, which I like. Which is what they did in the show, which I kind of like that I didn't decide to just make everything super realistic and then keep that head really realistic, because then like what's the point of that head being there? So I kind of like that I've kind of done a lot of these light lines and like really rendered as realistically as I would that head, and then kind of dialed it back a little bit for everything else. And like Courage as the dog is, I was talking about it before, is wildly, if that was an actual dog you saw in real life, it would be insanity. The tiny little legs and the big old head. But, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. This one might be the favorite piece I've done on this show, possibly my favorite thing I've done for a while. And I'm definitely going to go in and color this.
Good.
I've had some fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm definitely getting like Dolly vibes from your composition. It's awesome. It's very surreal. It's very fitting for both you and the show.
Yeah, I tried to keep the movement going in lots of odd places as well. Like the ceiling coming in that way, and then like all the paintings being all jagged and everything, all the composition is kind of weird and hodgepodge and at odd angles, which I like.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I almost forgot to add the title of Marvin's gun here. It says A1 disintegration pistol. I almost forgot to add that.
That's the most important part.
Duck Dodgers retaliates with his Acme disintegration pistol. It's Looney Tunes, and of course it's Acme. Almost forgot that, but yeah, I think with that I am. Until I decide there's a lot more I need to do right now.
Yeah, that's how it always is. I always clean up everything and then go back and go, I could add a little more shading in that area. And I go back and I rework it, and then I overdo it. And then I go, oh, it was better before. And then I have to break out the white. And then I have to, it's just a cycle. It's vicious. It's very mentally tolling.
Yeah, I've been there.
I hear you.
But hey, Todd, do you want to showcase what you got done?
Yeah. Oh, you guys see that?
Sick, man.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm trying to.
That is epic.
Doing it with like the lightning and the sparkles and everything. I don't know. We'll see. I might cut some of that stuff down.
I like the way it bleeds into the figure,
Definitely
though.
Fun,
it's
though.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Black, white, and red. They're color combinations.
Yeah, I seriously love that. That might be my favorite Space Ghost image I've ever seen. That's so cool.
Thank you. That's a compliment. I appreciate it. I definitely wasn't sure what I was going to do till the last minute today, so I'm glad it turned out. Maybe I'll try a full length one just to see what his costume actually looks like.
Yeah, you should.
We'll
yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of Space Ghost, but Space Ghost could be fun.
Do a mini. Do a mini.
You think?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my god, I would kill to read that. Just trippy and psychedelic. That would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. I'm trying to think if I know anybody at DC anymore. Maybe. I'd like to design a ship. That would be interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Alex Toth. Toth would see it and be like, "What the fuck did you do?"
Who cares what Toth thinks?
Yeah. Who cares?
Well,
Out of here, Toth.
You didn't inspire everybody.
there's no satisfying your dad.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Here, I'll showcase what I got done. But here's my Popeye. Turned out all right. It's not my favorite thing I've ever drawn.
I like that. I love how the spinach is just like fucking exploding.
Oh, thanks, man.
Into space. I love that.
Yeah, he's a little wonky looking. I'm happy with the arms in particular, which is good because they're the largest part of the figure. But yeah, not my favorite piece, but it's a solid. I'll give it a thumb up, not 2, but 1. All right, so are you guys? Is that cool for you guys to hang it up on there?
Yeah, I'm good to call it a night.
Cool.
I think I'm good.
Great. Well, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in and watching this 3rd episode of Ink, Drink, Think. Of course, I'm Michael Pickard, joined by always my crazy talented co-hosts, as you just witnessed, Johnny Wise, Nate Wells, and Todd Blackwood. You can find all of our links to our social media in the bio or description down below. Feel free to comment and share with your friends. Follow us on social media. It really helps to support our particular art endeavors. And stay tuned to this feed because we're constantly putting out content and we're planning to put out more in the near future. So keep your eyes locked in on us.
Definitely.
And nobody else.
We don't watch anything else. This is it.
No wandering eyes.
That's right. That's right.